from Georgia is recognized.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Yellen, it's good to see you, and congratulations, Chairman Powell, on your nomination for a second term as chair of the Fed. I look forward to supporting your nomination and continuing to work with you to ensure that Georgia families and businesses and workers continue to recover from the pandemic, and that working together we can ensure that we have a labor market that includes historically overlooked communities so that we have an economy that works for all Americans. Earlier this month, Georgia's Department of Labor reported that the state's unemployment rate is now at 3.1%. This is the lowest rate in the state's recorded history. This is good news, and it indicates that emergency economic relief programs in the CARES Act and the American Rescue Plan have been working, certainly working in Georgia. Still, Georgia's economy is not out of the woods yet. Small businesses continue to tell me that they're having difficulty hiring, while the labor force is still not what it was prior to the pandemic. Secretary Yellen, the labor participation rate fell in the outset of the pandemic, and it has remained flat over the past year, even as aid programs ended and the economy reopened, particularly among women, which is why some have called the pandemic a she-demic, if you will. Women have been especially hard hit by this, especially women and parents with small children. What else should Congress do to help bring workers back into the labor force?
So I would say that in the short run, vaccinations and increasing the number of people who have boosters to get the pandemic under control, to reduce the number of cases, that's the single most important thing we need to do to create an environment in which people feel it's safe to work. A substantial number of people say that they're not looking for work for COVID-related reasons. In some cases, even people who are fully vaccinated but who engage in face-to-face contact in their jobs are concerned about exposing themselves to COVID risks. And I think you see that for schools, child care centers, retail, and food services. Over a medium to longer term, many of the provisions of Build Back Better, particularly those affecting child care, the availability of elder care and care for the disabled, support for child care, those things promote labor force participation.
Chairman Powell, would you add your perspective to this?
Yes. I mean, I guess I would just say that on participation, it has been a bit of a surprise that we haven't had more of a recovery. And I really think the single most important thing is to get past the pandemic. Then we're really going to know how permanent this is. People get surveyed, and they do say substantial numbers of people are concerned about going back to work at a time when the pandemic is still moving around. And so I think that's the key, which means more vaccination, more boosters.
So getting the pandemic under control through vaccinations, and if I'm understanding you correctly, the care economy, so supporting families with elder care, child care, that you think that will actually strengthen labor market participation and not the opposite?
You know, without, I don't want to get into comment on any particular legislation,
Sure.
But yes, I think there's good research, as the Secretary pointed out a while ago, earlier in the hearing. There's good research showing that the U.S. has fallen behind, for example, in female labor force participation. You ask why, you do comparisons to other countries, and one of the differences that shows up as statistically significant is the availability of child care.
Yeah, I believe in the dignity of work. And it frustrates me, quite frankly, to hear folks moralize about the importance of work while not supporting workers and their ability to participate in the labor market I think closing the coverage gap, which is part of Build Back Better, will also help enable and strengthen workers even as they strengthen the American economy. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Senator Warnock.